And this is my beef with the People's Party. This is why I don't support the People's Party just yet. And it's because I don't see them bringing in those Trump supporters. I don't see them bringing in the populist right. I hear them say, you can join us if you convert to our way of thinking and our religion, essentially. And if you convert to our way of thinking, then you're welcome in. But if you don't agree with us on all of these points, then you cannot be a part of this movement. To me, the People's Party, the problem with it is, it's going to essentially at best become a new green party. It'll be a replacement for the Green Party, which it will push the Democratic Party to the left. It will attract only hardcore progressive Democrats, but not progressives, independent progressives like myself, and not Republican progressives, which I see a rising of these Republican progressives. So they're going to just bring in progressive Democrats. And then what happens is a repeat of what happened with Teddy Roosevelt when he started the Bull Moose Party and the Progressive Party, which was Teddy Roosevelt was a Republican progressive. This is why people ask me, what do you mean by progressive Democrats? And because I say I'm a progressive, but I'm not a progressive Democrat. And they say, well, what's the difference? And I say, well, I have no loyalty to the Democratic Party. They can go by the wayside for all I care. Progressive Democrats they're progressive first, but they are Democrat second. And they want the party to survive, just like what we saw with the fraud squad yesterday. When they voted for Nancy Pelosi, they were saying, well, it's because we can't let the other side win. So ultimately they're progressives, but of course they are sitting in Congress with the D next to their name. So they're progressive Democrats. Whereas I myself, and I would say Bernie Sanders was a progressive independent. And I consider myself a progressive independent. And I see this rising up of progressive Republicans, which actually they were first to the party to begin with. If you go back to the Bull Moose and Teddy Roosevelt, the Progressive Party rose from the Republican Party. That's where it first began. And it's very similar to the progressive movement of today. Teddy Roosevelt was very into, his Progressive Bull Moose Party was into conservation of the environment, ending corporate influence in government, and breaking up big corporations. Antitrust, trust busting stuff. So he was really for the people. And that was a Republican. So this is what I mean by these progressive Republicans, progressive independents, progressive Democrats. A party needs to come forward that can bring all of those three together, not just progressive Democrats and some progressive independents. And that's what I see with the People's Party. I don't see them wanting to bring in progressive Republicans at all because they don't recognize what a progressive Republican is. They just see Trump supporter, or they just see somebody who's maybe against some of the things that they're for. And they say, oh, no. You can't be a part of this movement unless you convert to our way of thinking. And I think that's a giant mistake. What happened with the Bull Moose Party and Teddy Roosevelt back in, 1917, was Teddy Roosevelt's Bull Moose took half the votes away from the Republican Party. So he was running against Taft. Now, Teddy Roosevelt had already been a president. He then handed the baton to his successor, Taft. Taft, he did not agree with. He didn't feel like Taft was living up to Teddy Roosevelt's progressivism. So he had the guts, unlike the fraud squad. Teddy Roosevelt had the guts to go against his own party. Now, remember, this was a man who was the president of the United States as a Republican. He was president. He was the top office. And he says, that's it. I've had enough of this Republican Party, and I'm going to primary you, essentially, in the biggest way. He just says, I'm going to start a third party, and you're going to lose, and you're going to lose. And that's what's going to happen. I'm going to vote against you because I'm running against you. So he did. He ran against his own successor. He ran against his own party, created his own third party, and ran against them. And unfortunately, what happened was it ended up splitting the Republican vote in half a little bit, he actually got more votes than the Republican Party. It was the most successful attempt by a third party in the history of the country. That third party, the Bull Moose Party, the Progressive Party, actually came in second, and the Republican Party came in third. The problem was he only drew from the Republican Party. He was having a difficult time getting any Democrats to join in. And so the Democrats stuck together. The Republicans split between the progressive movement and the Republican Party, and Woodrow Wilson, arguably the worst president in the United States, won the presidency, the Democrat. So that is a lesson that needs to be learned. We cannot repeat history. And even though Roosevelt had an excellent run at a third party, an extremely successful run at a third party, it wasn't enough because it split the vote. So the People's Party needs to learn from this and realize that we need to be bringing in progressive Republicans or anti-establishment. So let me just phrase it better so people understand. Anti-establishment Republicans. Those are the people that we need to go after. Anti-establishment Republicans, start partnering with them, start encouraging this. And rather than saying, no, you're wrong, the vote's not rigged, you're wrong, just take the medicine, right? I'm hearing this. All of these progressives for all these years said big pharma and the medical industrial complex, they were all just out there they were profiteering off of healthcare. But suddenly right now they're saying, oh no, it's altruistic. It's altruistic. Just go take the medicine. Just take the medicine. And I'm sitting there like, wait a minute. So now suddenly they're not trying to make a huge amount of money. So we got to understand what the end goal is, stick with that end goal, and focus on these progressive Republicans, these anti-establishment Republicans, bring them into the fold, caucus together, create that third party, and challenge the establishment, completely challenge the establishment. That is what I believe needs to happen in this country. So thank you guys so much for watching. We are going to move on here to the next big thing that has happened in the news.